Welcome to this segment of Fire Engineering's Training Minutes. I'm Clint Crafton, a Battalion Chief with the Fishers Fire Department. In our last segment, we talked about the modified dash lift and showed all the different components and cuts that we needed to make to show a successful lift. Today, what we're going to do is a step-by-step without anything exposed so that we can see how this operation works. If you recall from our last segment, we had everything opened up, the fender was out of the way, the A-post cut, and part of the windshield removed. Coming into an accident scene, obviously that's not going to be the case. So the first thing we have to do is expose where we're going to make our cuts. By peeling the fender back, we may not even have to remove it. We might be able to get plenty of access, as we're showing here, to go ahead and make the cuts. Anything we can do to save time, we're going to go ahead and take advantage of. For the cut, again, coming into wherever the natural openings might exist, such as the wire chase, but making sure that we're above the hinge. The extra steel inside of the A-frame for the hinge mount gives us a perfect place to push against for that lift. We want to make sure that we get the A-post cut as through and through as we possibly can. So we're going to make this cut perpendicular after we've made the cut from the door side. In different cars, that A-post might roll into the doghouse, and you want to make sure that you capture all of the metal down there at the bottom so that you get a nice through cut. As we discussed on the A-post high, if we cut here and leave it just a single cut, when we start to lift, it's very easy for the metal of the two pieces to jam back into each other and really hold us up. So we want to go ahead and make sure that we take out a section or chunk the A-post to give that bypass. For our final cut, we need to come into the frame, again, behind the strut tower or shock tower, but before the firewall. The object here is to lift the entire dash and firewall as one unit, so we have to release it from the frame as much as we can. If we can't make full access here, we make the cut as deep as we possibly can and allow it to pivot or tear at that point when we do the lift. You can already see how the dash is starting to displace from that cut. That tells us that we've got a nice through cut there, and we should get a pretty nice lift out of this. As we bring in the spreaders, again, staying perpendicular to the opening so that we can have good access for our patient. We may have to reposition a couple times to get a nice deep spread, but as we recall, the object is to go from that rolled strengthened metal at the bottom at the hinge all the way up to the transverse beam, which is hiding behind the dashboard. Now that we've captured the top hinge, we can see that that lift is really being generated. We're pulling the pedals and the dash completely away from our patient. We can remove the hose on a single hose system, and now we've got all the access we need to be able to pull that driver out of the patient compartment. And one thing that sometimes can limit the spread that we're looking for is the parking brake cable. If the parking brake cable runs right along at the same point of the cut, we might want to go ahead and snip that off. It can really hang you up and limit the amount of displacement that you get. So in summary, what we've shown here today is a follow-up on the dash lift that we did previously, only how you would see it on the street and how it would take place when you actually have the extrication. From the previous segment, we had already displaced the transverse beam on the opposite side, so you can see how this is starting to cave in the middle instead of making a nice level lift across. We want to thank Helmatro, our sponsor for this segment. I'm Clint Crafton with Advanced Rescue Solutions, and thanks for watching Fire Engineering's Training Minutes.